After Ains gave them a nod, the two went first into the gate. Ains followed them and stopped just in front of it. He then threw the strange sculpture into the air. This was the best he could do to not cause a suspicious death that would trouble him later. Ains immediately entered the gate without waiting for the sculpture to hit, and dispelled the gate without a second thought. Good. I will go get the final confirmation. Wait for a bit, both of you. Okay. Understood. Only a little more, right? Good luck, Ains-sama. I think it should be fine if it's Ains-sama, but please take care, because I think that your mana could be low. Receiving the twins' encouragement, Ains recast Perfect on Noble, and used greater teleportation to appear in the elf's room again. Shit. That's painful. Why the hell would it fall on its own? First of all, why am I sleeping in such a place? Did I drink? I feel like I didn't. Shit, that's painful. Ains looked at the wide-awake elf, who was taking his rage out on the shelf. He smiled at the elf, who was becoming more and more tearful from the pain. Nicely done. A perfect crime. The elf didn't look like he was acting, and he also didn't seem to suspect anything. No, it looked like he did have suspicions about the sculpture falling on him, but he probably didn't think that some strange person came into his room and threw it on him. Wait a minute. Ains stopped before he could activate greater teleportation, as he heard suspicion in the elf's voice. Did he notice something? Maybe not pinned on us, but still that there's an intruder. Was there some kind of monitoring equipment, magic item here because it's a shop? I didn't find any though. Is Sengoku-sama trying to tell me something? Sengoku-sama. I don't remember any such monsters in Yggdrasil. Sengoku-sama. Sengoku-sama. Please speak if there's anything I should know. The elf kneeled on the floor, his head to the ground and the sculpture in his hands held high. That was the model pose of devotion a highly religious person would take. So it's just the native religion. That aside, why does this guy talk to himself so much? Is he intentionally doing this because he thinks that there's someone around? Or is he just simply praying to this god called Sengoku? The elf seemed to be a different person from the one they kidnapped and used. Ains hesitated for a moment about whether or not he should kidnap the elf again and kill him, but he ended up deciding not to. For now, it was more likely that he was just praying, but it was still better to be on guard. Ains wanted to leave something behind to monitor him if possible, but that would be difficult even for Ains. There was no convenient spell for that. The most he could do was to use magic to check in at times. Ains clicked his tongue, although he didn't have one, and returned to Green Secret House using greater teleportation. The twins, who were waiting for him, smiled when Ains dispelled Perfect on Noble and gave him a thumbs up. Honestly, he was a bit uneasy about the elf's behavior at the end, but since they couldn't do anything about it, he chose not to tell the twins in case they turn uneasy. Okay, everyone. Thank you for your cooperation with everything so far. With that, today's work is done. The twins looked puzzled at Ains's exaggerated action, but immediately smiled again. As it is getting late, please turn in early so that you won't feel exhausted tomorrow. The twins replied with an energetic okay. With that, although the day has already changed, I will now decide the time we should be waking up at. Yes, I don't mind you waking up whenever you want, but don't go sleeping until noon now you're here. Righto. If you wake up by 9 o'clock, I will bring you a breakfast from Nazarick. They answered with a loud okay. While Laura slightly poked Mare with her elbow, it didn't look like she was bullying him. Okay, with that, thanks for the hard work everyone. Upon hearing Ains's words, the two of them also followed with, thanks for your hard work. Well then, that's all folks. They set off, heading towards the Dark Elf village. Relying on what that elf had said, they raced across the ground on Fenrir's back. If they could have discovered their target from the sky, they would have headed there without stopping, but unfortunately, it couldn't be discovered even with Aura's talents. It was hard to breathe as they ran through the forest. It was as if Ains were being smacked in the face by air that had absorbed the very greenery. That characteristic, and extremely potent on top of that, scent of the forest made his nasal cavity tremble. It may have just been Ains's imagination, but he could feel that it was different from the air in the great forest of Top. If it weren't just his imagination alone, then though this world may resemble Yggdrasil, there were major differences, and it was brimming with various other changes. As he idly mused over this, the urge of wanting to travel all over this vast world put just a little thrill in his heart. If the average Joe was to proceed down the pathless path through the great sea of trees with its dangling vines, jumble of trees, and more impeding them, it would obviously be impossible to proceed in a straight line. Before they knew it, they would find themselves heading in a completely different direction. From what they had heard from the man, the distance to the Dark Elf village was about a week's travel. Although the elves were adapted to the forests, if they could progress 15 kilometers a day within this sea of trees, they would be doing well. Based on that, the villages would be separated by about 100 kilometers. Ains and company covered that distance on. It was precisely because Aura was here this time that they were able to make it this far in good shape. Because I already feel like I'm getting in the way of running the Sorcerer Kingdom enough as it is. Therefore, the best way to get what he wanted was to have an adventure without Aura. That way everyone could rack their brains together and have some fun. However, it should be noted that Ains only thought of it this way because he had confidence that his powers could pull through during an adventure. For example, if he was in some unknown place and lost his bearing, he could return from anywhere using teleport. For example, even if some unknown magical beast came charging out of that thicket, he would be able to deal with it somehow, and even in the worst case, he could still flee back to Nazarick.